Hey guys, this is Eckhart's Ladder. Hello and welcome to another video. This is sort of a continuation of yesterday's upload where I teased the fact that the Republic actually created an early version of what would become the B-Wing. If you want to watch that video about 5 obscure starfighters, really we end up covering like 10 or so that you've probably never heard of, I'll link it in the upper right hand corner. But today we are talking about the H-60 Tempest. Before we get into it though, just a quick word from the Eckhart's Ladder sponsor, Vite Ramen. I've been working with Vite Ramen for years now. You guys love the brand and so do I. They love me too, so much in fact that we actually made our own flavor, Massaman Curry. Right now it's sold out because it's so damn good, but they've got a ton of other great flavors as well. I'd recommend the roasted soy chicken, and the best part is the meals are really easy to make. I mean, if I can do it, that's a good sign. They're delicious, they're super healthy, especially for ramen. Low sodium, low calories, bioavailable nutrients, everything. And you're buying from a small American business which treats their employees really, really well. Right now, you can get 10% off Vite Ramen by going to their website linked in the description or viteramen.com/Eckhart'sLadder and using the code Eckhart's. You can also check out the really cool launch animation we did for our new flavor, and you'll also get free shipping in the contiguous USA and some gifts. So again, link down below, use code Eckhart's. Now, let's continue talking about the H-60 Tempest. And this was a really fun video to do because the Tempest was really a creation of several different Star Wars source books with some conflicting information, so I did my best to synthesize it all for you here. Anyway, I said the H-60 Tempest was a creation of the Republic. That's admittedly only a half-truth. The ship was intended for use by the Republic, but was developed by Slane & Corporal, which was a Verpine shipbuilding company. If you've never heard of the Verpine, they're a very prominent species in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, especially in Legends, and are known for their especially high-quality engineering products. Now, this distinction matters more than it usually does. Corporations like Rothana or Kuat Drive Yards were usually working exclusively with the Republic and were later imperialized. Slane & Corporal, however, remained independent, which is important because the H-60 Tempest ended up being the blueprint for the later B-Wing. The B-Wing was unique, and of course we're talking about Star Wars Legends here, but also canon, in that it was designed during the Galactic Civil War. That was also true with the A-Wing and other ships, but that was essentially a refinement of an existing design. The B-Wing was much different than the H-60 Tempest, as we'll discuss. When it comes to timing, the Force Unleashed sourcebook is, I think, purposefully non-specific, saying that the ship was developed in the later years of the Republic. However, the Age of Rebellion sourcebook Stay on Target confirms that it was designed during the Clone Wars itself. The actual ship maintains a lot of what makes the B-Wing unique. It's not a bomber like the Y-Wing and would more accurately be described as what the book calls a heavy attack starfighter, or what I would probably call a heavy assault starfighter. What's the difference? Well, the H-60 Tempest is even larger than a traditional bomber, it's less maneuverable, it's got more powerful energy shields, and packs even more in terms of weaponry. Obviously, the ship shares a blade-like appearance with the B-Wing. It seems, however, based on descriptions that, although I guess this doesn't really matter, it would have ordinarily been flown in a horizontal configuration. Again, it's space, that doesn't really matter, but I note it because the bomb launch bay is on the underside of the ship. The vessel was extraordinarily durable. It featured a very heavy hull and a powerful reactor housed midship, which gave it not only decent straight-ahead speed, but also a very powerful shield. This thing was meant to take a couple of hits from enemy starfighters or even a capital ship on way to deliver its payload. What was that payload? Well, one thing you might notice right away is that the H-60 has 2 cockpits, not just one. The ship was controlled from its starboard cockpit, while the port side contained a full gunnery station. Another distinction between bombers and heavy assault fighters is weaponry loadout. Often bombers will have a mix of, well, bombs, but also anti-starfighter weapons. For example, you might load your Y-Wing with a set of concussion missiles. The H-60 Tempest, however, was meant to be used almost exclusively against stationary or slow-moving targets like capital ships. Aside from the bomb launch bay, the H-60 was armed with laser cannons, ion cannons, and torpedo launchers, so it could output a lot of damage if it got within range. Ultimately, the Tempest never saw widespread use throughout the Republic, and there are differing reasons for why this happened. The Force Unleashed campaign guide says that this was because the ship was not flexible enough to compete with more modern starfighters. I would disagree with that. I don't think the ship is any more or less flexible than the B-Wing. I mean, despite the fact that it's literally less flexible and not having the gyroscopic cockpit, but the B-Wing was incredibly effective It fit a perfect hole within the starfighter core of the Alliance, and there was really no ship quite like it. These things could kill capital ships, and I suspect the H-60 Tempest would be quite similar. In fact, before moving on, let's talk about how the Republic could have used the H-60. Ships like this are obviously a liability when it comes to dogfighting. They need to be protected. However, the one thing the Republic Navy had, maybe more than any other Navy in Star Wars, was a variety of great space superiority starfighters that could contend with the best offered by the CIS. The Republic was also in need of a ship like this because their largest capital ships, at least their largest standard capital ships like the Venator, were kind of underpowered in terms of weaponry. I could see this ship working nicely with, say, a V-19, which was also produced by the same company. Even mix in some Arc 170s, they can help absorb damage, they can also drop off ordnance, and they have that rear-facing gun to help fight off pursuers. I don't know, it just seems like a recipe to success for me at least. The Stay on Target sourcebook I think does a better job of handling the non-use of the H-60. It says specifically that while the craft showed great promise, and I quote, combination of bad timing and political wrangling within the dying Republic Navy quickly scuttled the program, and the entire line was discontinued after only a handful of squadrons were delivered. And guess where those would end up? Yeah, in the years after the rise of the Empire, H-60 Tempests would make their way into the Rebel Navy, being otherwise relegated to scrap heaps or junkyards across the galaxy. Interestingly, one of my favorite books, the Star Wars Complete Collections, actually has an image of an H-60 Tempest bomber within the Massassi Temple on Yavin. And if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, that book came out in 2005 or 2006. Those source books you mentioned sound like they're much newer. Well, you're actually correct. It was this book and this image of it in a small Rebel hangar which actually created the H-60, although that itself was probably based off of concept art for the B-Wing. I'm just assuming, I mean, it looks almost exactly like a B-Wing. That's gotta be the case. But guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.